In 1976, the music scene in Manchester, England was jumping in all sorts of directions, with the likes of 10cc, Mandela Band, Gentlemen, a newly formed Buzzcocks, and this next act, Both Hands Free. And from the singular self titled album from Both Hands Free, the track Gettemoff. Got a really persistent, like, C sharp drive going on here with like Fender and sax. It's I'm having a hard time finding the beginning, the start of each bar. I'm like trying to count this. It's got quite a lot of texture going on here. Got kind of slow. Well, we got these kind of like creamy sustain type sounds from like the keyboard and how it blends with the sax. We got some slightly more kind of swirly sounds coming in and through much of this, we've had a pretty brisk, almost kind of like driving, kind of like locomotive tempo. And right here where we have some kind of odd meter. Hear that those kind of slightly trippy sounds that are just kind of like rising and falling, like. Yeah, the bass is really hyperactive in this. Really good separation of different instruments, even though this, I guess, was recorded. Let's see. Oh, it was released on a label that was just set up exclusively for the band by someone who saw them play in the basement of Manchester pub. Yeah, recorded at Fairview Recording Studio. Also, it had pretty good equipment. It was just the label, I guess, that was kind of makeshift for the band. I like how the saxophone is like doing these like sustain notes, while the rhythm section is like playing at like twice the speed. Like the bass notes are moving like twice as fast, and the keyboards as well. While the sax just kind of like stretches out over the bars. These time signatures are escaping me. I keep on the moment I like try and pay attention, I just can't find the beginning of a given bar to, but I or find where the pattern like starts and ends. tell, was the saxophonist like accessing a certain kind of note within the key center, or was he just kind of doing his own? It, now I like this sound a lot. God, how do you get that like warm, fuzzy tone? Oh my God, how do you just? I don't know how they get that. Let's see. We've got our lineup here is Ritchie Close keyboards, Phil Chapman saxophone, Dave Hassel drums, and Pete Glennon bass. So we don't have a guitarist on this. Yeah, so that's a keyboard giving us that sound. Although it kind of almost sounds like it kind of sounds like a guitar, but it kind of sounds like some in between type instrument. Maybe it's like some early analog synthesizer with a like fuzz, a guitar fuzz tone setting or something. Or yeah, leave a comment if you can identify the make or model that would produce that kind of sound. Although this isn't the only time I've heard that sound. I don't know. The rhythm pattern is going like 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 with downbeats like with accents on the two. Hear that thing that just hear it that sound just kind of like rise upward, kind of like playing at like half the speed as the rhythm. I love that contrast in cadences between between these main kind of bars and then that one that spaces it out. That yeah, that right there. Yeah, where it suddenly gets like more choppy and kind of like goes like four wallops a bar or something. Come to think of it, I guess structurally this reminds me somewhat of some of the faster numbers on like Wired, Jeff Beck's Wired. But the sounds are a lot different. Sound-wise, this band pretty much has their own thing going. I wouldn't compare it to any of the bands on the UK scene, really. Maybe, oh, okay, maybe a little bit of like what Soft Machine were doing around this time, like on the Softs album. Some of the tones, some of the textures, but this is definitely a lot peppier than what they were generally known for during the 1970s. Yeah, I wouldn't compare this to Brand X or Coliseum at all, or Isotope, or or um, or actually some of the keyboards, the kind of creamy Fender tone could be heard in some of the Belgian bands of the era. except they too tended to be a bit kind of more dreamy overall. Tended not to be this like brisk or punctual. I love the way it's just folded out to those really high tones on that fade out, and I love those fade outs where every last note counts. Yeah, that was a Gettemoff by Both Hands Free from the Manchunian Band's 1976 singular self-titled album, released on the momentary press Kemp Pegram Music Limited. Established solely for this release. Oh, actually, apparently it had a couple of releases subsequently. There was the Tannahill Weavers. Yeah, that was a Scottish band, Scottish folk band. Supposedly had like one of their albums on there, and then a single by the Pork Dukes. Supposedly, that's strange. How did this? Oh, published by Kemp. Huh. Yeah, the Pork Dukes were this kind of cartoon, punk, shock pop band formed by the Goldring twins, who had been in Gnid Relog during the earlier part of the 1970s. Yeah. Anyway, Both Hands Free, yeah. One of the lightning talents of Manchester from 1976. Let's hear another track from their album, City Slickers. This is just vintage mid-70s, like European jazz funk. I swear, this is kind of like this. I almost feel like I'm listening to something off the first Cortex album. What is it about the production that just takes me away? It's like I love that darkness of the bass and the kind of misty creaminess of the keyboard sound, and just it combines for such like a quaint overall vibe. Yeah, I feel like I'm just being transported back to an era of like Super 8 grainy footage and grainy Super 8 footage in an era of older buildings. Back in the mid-70s, when many of the structures from the 1920s and earlier were still standing, when many of the design motifs and billboards from the 1940s and 1950s were still on full display, when the cities were cleaner, and just a different overall vibe, and the kind of shops that existed, you know. Strange thing to throw in there. I was just when I was like trying to count that, they kind of like throw me off with that little like extra figure of 8. Yeah, that bar began on a strange count. I'm having a hard time finding where these patterns begin. Yeah, that keyboard has like a certain kind of oh, flanginess to it that this would be really great with some female like wordless vocals. Kind of like Ella, like on say like on Cortex or even like Ursula Dudziak, like Urbaniak or the lightness of that keyboard tone is kind of like light beckoning in, glowing in into sort of kind of like a dim room, like yeah, it's just like there are so many different images and senses that this music can conjure. It's like the keyboard tones, like on those high keys, kind of like light beckoning into a dark room. The sax kind of representing the fresh aroma of like potpourri or incense or even like flowers and the bass, the dark bass representing more kind of the dim corners this has such like kind of like a humble but kind of like positive vibe to it. It's just like a fine, beautiful day in 1975, 1976. Just like close your eyes and picture yourself there. Roaming kind of like freely through a few key sections, basically just kind of playing loosely around a structure that just changes between a few key centers. Like it's mostly like in G. Right here it's in B. A G7, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, because I also hear kind of an F in there. Now this almost sounds like F suspended second or something. D. Wow, the keyboardist is now really exploring the full range, just really walking around up and down around these key centers. That bass creates so much sonic fullness. It's so like just like wide, and it really fills out everything quite, and gives that kind of just dim vibe, that dim lighted kind of vibe. I think what I was really saying, it's that contrast of kind of the darkness of the bass with the general like positive kind of sunny vibe of the overlying instruments that creates just the beautiful contrast, and quaintness as well. This could have been used in like a documentary or in a variety show or something. This could have been like background music to something on television. I wonder who this band may have gigged with opposite of. It would have been a great double bill. I wonder if there were any double bills featuring this and some of the other, well, one of those other great Manchester acts that I mentioned. That was Both Hands Free with City Slickers from the 1976 album Both Hands Free, a quartet comprised of four people who, had been around here and there. Let's see, the bassist Pete Glennon had also played in the folk band Therapy, or at least appeared on one of their albums, Almanac. And let's see, appears on Mandela Band's second album, The Eye of Wonder Prophecies. Plays on a Tim Hart solo album. And let's see, drummer Dave Hassel also had been in Therapy. It seems there's a lot of connection to the folk band Therapy. And let's see, also played on a Maddie Pryor solo album and that same Tim Hart solo album, that same Mandela Band album. Oh, and Pauline Murray and the Invisible Girls, yeah, their 1980 album, yeah, great album. Oh, the White Door Windows from 1983, yeah, synth pop classic. And let's see, earlier on, oh, Sad Cafe, Misplaced Ideas, huh? Well, at least something on there. Ritchie Close keyboards, was in a series of bands. But passed away in 1991. Oh my God, sad. Passed away at age 39 in 1991 after contracting Legionnaire's disease during a trip to Spain. That's tragic. Let's see, he would go on to play on albums by, let's see, Mike Harding, Maddie Pryor, some of the same albums I mentioned already. Oh, Corey Hart's First Offense, Pressure Points by Camel. Let's see, and saxophonist Phil Chapman, a lot of the same albums, Mandela Band, and some other stuff I'm not really familiar with. Yeah. And anyway, yeah, Both Hands Free, a great jazz funk one-off in an era that was just producing these bands that just kind of came and loaded their energy onto a single long player for all-time preservation, from a magic era that was producing great music right at the nexus between jazz, rock, funk, classical, yeah, combining them all into something better than the sum of their parts. For more Rubies and Sapphires from the Both Hands Free album, see the directory of albums from English B artists linked in the description below. Like and subscribe and follow me on social media and leave a comment if there are any observations you have about the two tracks we just heard. The rhythm, the nuances, the layers, the solos, who had the best break in the track? Yeah, what kind of vibe did the sound and overall production feel conjure up in your imagination? And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most ear-traveled trimaximalist, signing off.